A version of comedy that I really enjoy that I don't do as much of is topical comedy. And to get into why that is, before we talk about how to do it, is that topical comedy has a very limited shelf life. So as I'm recording this, we're right before the presidential elections of 2016. We're maybe 45 days out before people go to vote, if not shorter than that. So if I'm going to tell any jokes about Hillary Clinton or Gary Johnson or Donald Trump, those jokes have a very limited shelf life. And what that means is I have to constantly be writing new jokes. And one of the things that we know as comedians is there's a joke that you write and it could take up to a year to perfect that joke to make it part of your set. So I believe that you have to be a really seasoned comedian to be confident enough to know that what you're writing before you put it up on stage is probably going to work when you're doing topical comedy. So there's a lot of things that happen in that day or in that week that you can put up on stage that nobody cares about. In fact, most people will forget about a week later. So what a lot of comedians will do to show their audience that they are keeping things fresh is they won't make an entire set full of topical comedy, but they may open up their set with something recent that's happened in the headlines and put it as part of a formula that they use for a lot of their jokes for topical comedy. So what is that? So yeah, you can find it on pretty much any of those late night shows, Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert. The Daily Show is probably the best version of topical comedy in my opinion. Some people refer to it as satire. So The Onion is probably the best at satire. But you'll find that The Daily Show has done a really great job of giving you factual information and giving you hilarious opinions that go along with it. And that's a really intelligent style of comedy. So here's an example of topical comedy. And again, I'll probably have to update this video so that the joke that I'm presenting to you makes more sense, especially if this video is 2, 3, 4 years old. A man mistakenly adopted a bear cub thinking it was a puppy dog. Amazingly, it wasn't until the cub was 5 years old and a full-grown bear to realize it wasn't Donald Trump. So there's a true story that exists out there that some idiot actually adopted a bear, and it was a cub, thinking that it was a puppy dog. So there's the premise. The setup is, amazingly, it wasn't until the cub was 5 years old and full grown to realize it wasn't Donald Trump. So now we're meshing two worlds together of Donald Trump and the bear and making this topical joke happen. You'll find, and as you've found through the series so far, that joke writing is really kind of scientific, mathematical. So you've got to really put yourself in the shoes of a person that's standing on stage telling these jokes to an audience full of people. Because what may be funny to you in an empty room by yourself is just not going to hit. But when you tell a joke like that one, when you make a switch or what we call a misdirection, the audience will laugh at the fact that you had the picture of a bear in their heads and then you put the picture of Donald Trump as somebody's pet. And it has generated laughs. And so you have to trust a lot of times that your writing can translate onto the stage, and you have to try it. Sometimes it works, most of the time it does not. And you have to constantly do that over and over and over. So one way that you can write topical comedy is to take a look at the headline as a setup and then report as though it's real fact so that you can make your punchline a misdirection. So a really simple way to write topical comedy is to just go headline hunting. One way that I do that is I go into Google News and I just start from the top to the bottom. I look at the U.S. news, and I look at local news, I look at world news, sports news, science news, religious news, and look at headlines. Those headlines are going to inspire me to think in a more parallel way and try to discover a way that we can misdirect somebody. So you take the headline as a setup, report as though this is real fact, because it is, and then you make your punchline a misdirection. A common mistake when producing topical humor is to provide your opinion thinking that it's comical commentary. And that's not true. So an example of that would say, Donald Trump has won the Republican nomination. People are really stupid. That doesn't serve anyone's purpose. You're just conveying your opinion, and you're doing it in a way that isolates human beings in the audience, and they're going to shape an opinion of you very quickly based off of what you're trying to sell to them. So you can't offend people. You can say the same thing and deliver your point of view by making the commentary about something that if you believe people voting for a particular candidate are stupid, you can do it without calling them stupid. So an example, Donald Trump has won the Republican nomination. When trying to determine how something like this could happen, it was discovered that for every gun purchased this election season, you accidentally cast a vote for Donald Trump. Does that make sense? You know what my point of view is, and I'm associating something that goes along with that party or candidate line. But if there's any Republicans that happen to be in the audience, they're going to giggle because I've tried to be clever. And if the audience members aren't clever enough to understand my clever joke, they don't feel offended because I haven't outright called them stupid or that they've made a poor decision. So say something that's almost truthful, and say something that wouldn't surprise people that isn't true but could be. And in fact, it's one of the ways that people are able to get articles out onto the internet and get it shared, is to say something that seems true or seems logical but is not. And as a comedian, you're not obligated to actually cite sources. Your obligation is 100% to be funny. So if you're using the stage as a pulpit to preach your points of view, you're definitely in the wrong place. You can certainly reveal your point of view as long as it's funny. If your intent is for people to laugh, you'll win. If your intent is to offend people, you will fail. Your first task is to take a look at Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and The Daily Show to observe some topical humor. Do that on YouTube right now. Now your second task is to go to Google News, pull some headlines, and write 4 one-liner topical jokes.